All right, guys, so we got to talk about an extremely sad story, and honestly, a story that I'm sick and tired of covering, okay? And what I'm actually more sick and tired than covering the story is the fact that the mainstream liberal media won't cover or talk about this story, but yet, if this was happening to another group of people that claim to be victimized, then they will be all over it. We would not stop hearing about the epidemic of violence happening against said group, right? But when it comes to police officers who are experiencing an epidemic of violence being done against them, there is silence, right? There's silence on this, okay? Again, I've covered many of these stories, and unfortunately, I have to cover another one, as we got to talk about a sheriff who was murdered in cold blood out in his patrol vehicle in Palmdale, in near Los Angeles, right? So this guy by the name of Ryan Klinkenbrummer, he was murdered in his patrol vehicle, and I want to go ahead and play the news clip because, again, this story is not being talked about enough, what is happening to our police officers and law enforcement around the country. Take a look.
Time now 7:31. Thank you for joining us. That breaking news this morning. A manhunt is underway for the person who ambushed and killed an LA County Sheriff's deputy inside his patrol car in Palmdale. Last night was the end of watch for Deputy Ryan Klinkenbrummer. NBC4's Bailey Miller is live in Palmdale with more on the deputy's murder. And earlier we learned, Bailey, that he is a personal friend of yours. You knew him since high school, and we can only imagine how you feel. As a journalist, you never expect to wake up and report on a loved one, and we know you are strong today for his friends and family, so we can learn more about this deputy who lived to serve. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Yes, so heartbreaking hearing this news about Ryan Klinkenbrummer. Me and my friends, we called him Klink. I'll share a little bit more personally about him after this live shot. I just want to say, obviously, this is a very tragic morning for the LA County Sheriff's Department, as well as his family and his friends. I want to take a step out of the way just so you can see. This is the investigation here behind me. This tragic incident, the shooting, happened not far from the police station here, the Sheriff's Deputy Station, I should say. And this is why you're seeing a big investigation going on as they comb the scene for evidence, trying to figure out exactly who is responsible for this. Now, I want to show you, this is Deputy Ryan Klinkenbrummer. He was just 30 years old and served the LA County Sheriff's Department for 8 years. At 6 last night, Deputy Klinkenbrummer was found unconscious in his patrol car by a Good Samaritan near Avenue Q and Sierra Highway, not far from the Palmdale Sheriff's Station where I'm standing. After he was found, he was rushed to the Antelope Valley Medical Center where he died of his injuries. And now the Sheriff's Department is using all of their resources available to track down the person or people responsible in this ambush of their deputy. Sheriff Luna holding a press conference last night. He believes this was a targeted attack, and he added they're still looking for reasons why somebody would shoot and murder him.
So unfair. He embodied the values of bravery, selflessness, and an absolute commitment to justice. Our deputy was a devoted family member and a cherished member of our community who was cowardly shot while working tirelessly to serve our community this evening. We're going to catch the person who did this, because every resource that the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has to bear is going after you. Together, we can ensure that this senseless murder and the person who committed it is held accountable to the full extent of the law. He needs to be off our streets.
This was the procession for Deputy Klinkenbrummer last night, where hundreds of deputies lined the street to honor their fallen officer. Deputy Klinkenbrummer was a third-generation law enforcement officer, and he was engaged just a few days ago. He proposed to his fiancée.
Yeah, so incredibly sad story. Third-generation police officer. Okay, so it was in his blood. He was born to be a police officer. He did exactly what he loved to do, what he was born to do, okay? And he had just proposed to his fiancée, was going to get married, probably have a happy life, and some coward decided to take his life while he was in his patrol vehicle, okay? Now, we don't know the motivations behind this. Okay, so we don't know if this was personal, whether or not he knew the person, or whether or not this was some random act of violence done against police, because, in this country, we have a strong anti-police sentiment. There's a strong anti-police movement, especially in some of these liberal parts of the country that, want to abolish law enforcement. And what I find to be fascinating about this, right, is that we hear a whole lot about the so-called epidemic of violence that is supposed to be happening against, transgender people and so-called people of color. And they want to lecture us about it to no end, right? They want to lecture us about it. They want to continue to let us know every single time that, hey, there's an epidemic of violence happening against these people, right? I just did a video the other day about a mother who was boohoo, whining, crying in tears because of violence against trans people, which clearly is a bad thing. That's a terrible thing. Okay. But when you look at the number of trans people that are murdered per year, for example, in 2022, there was only about 40. Okay, there was only about 40. And of those 40, we have no clue how many of these murders actually occurred because of hate or bigotry, rather than just a domestic dispute that doesn't have anything to do with their identity. They don't really tell you that, right? But they throw that in your face that there is a epidemic of violence being done in this country against trans people. However, when it comes to police officers, in 2022, 64 officers lost their lives. They were shot and killed in the line of duty, but yet you don't hear anything about an epidemic of violence happening against police officers. We don't hear anything about that, right? We hear a whole lot about how GOP laws that are common sense, but, the left says it's anti-LGBTQ, how that is causing trans people to lose their lives, right? Because, 40 individuals per year are shot and killed. We don't really know if they're, actually, losing their lives because of hate and bigotry, right? We don't really know, but this is what they say. But yet, again, you have a lot of anti-police sentiment going on in this country. A lot of people don't like cops. They hate cops. They've spoken out against cops. There's been a lot of hate and vitriol directed at cops, especially after George Floyd. And we've seen an uptick in violence in police being targeted because of it. But yet, you don't hear about the epidemic of violence going on against them, right? They don't really care, even though there's more police officers in this country being murdered than trans people. And I'm pretty sure that probably more trans people in total in this country than police officers. So the rate in which police officers lose their lives is probably higher than trans people as well, too, when you're talking about murders. But I don't see anybody boohoo, whining, and crying about it at town halls. I don't see the mainstream liberal media doing stories about these police officers who are continuously losing their lives, being targeted. And some of whom may be targeted because of the anti-police rhetoric that is coming from the left. Again, it's amazing the double standards that we have in this country. The groups that we, care about and bring attention to, and the groups that we don't care about and choose not to bring attention to. It's almost as if the liberal media thinks that it's okay, that we shouldn't be concerned about the uptick in violence against police officers in this country, right? Police officers being targeted, losing their lives. Now, again, generally speaking, police, because they are in the line of duty, they are more likely to lose their lives, right? I mean, this is just kind of how things work. But I think that these police officers deserve more attention being brought to the anti-police rhetoric going on in this country that, in my opinion, can be contributing to the violence. I think that we should bring more attention to that because I think those police officers deserve that. The same way that the left argues that these trans individuals who lose their lives because of violence, because of bigotry, they deserve attention, right? I'm just saying, police officers protect society, right? They protect individuals, including trans people, but yet, again, it seems like we don't really care about them as much as we should care about police officers and when they lose their lives. I'm just saying. I think that we have an issue with violence and hatred towards police, and it needs to be addressed. Now, again, in this situation with this officer, I don't know the exact cause of it. However, I'm just saying that I've covered a lot of these stories of police being, shot and killed in the line of duty, and it's something that really bothers me. It's something that I feel we should bring more attention to because, again, this is a problem, right? It really is a problem, and it's not just a problem that affects police in regards to, facing violence and being killed in the line of duty. This type of stuff also affects average, normal, everyday people because the anti-police rhetoric is the reason why we have a lack of police officers in this country, why departments are having a hard time trying to recruit, and that is why you have a lot of crime in these inner liberal cities, and that's why you have more people losing their lives, okay, at the hands of criminals because of less police, right? So the anti-police rhetoric in this country is not just costing the lives of police officers, but also of just regular, everyday, normal people, okay? So again, this is a huge issue that the media is ignoring, and that's why I want to continue to bring attention to it. So hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.